Call to logical device, update descriptor sets. Happens from combined image sampler updater need action. Combined image sampler updater is derived from task to task DQ. Which has new datum. So maybe that one. Pass new descriptors that need to be updated to this task. This is called from pipeline factory. Picked up by combined image sampler updater need action. And combined image sampler updater multiplex implementation. Yeah. I'm still wondering if maybe there is another place where have new datum is called. That is the new datum, that is a member function of combined image sampler updater. Seems extremely unlikely. But if it is, then how is that possible? Yeah, that's a different task. Move new pipelines. And immediate submit queue is also another task. And descriptor task is also another task, I guess. No, I'm not even sure. Pipeline cache merger it definitely is. Let's have a look at this one. That is a combined image sampler updater. Okay, so there's two of them. This one is being called when update image sampler array is being called. I guess from here. That's textures. I'm currently looking at the different tests. Surprisingly, a lot of calls there. Update image sampler array. Calls itself a few times. In all the way up to and including that one. So in the end, it's only being called from Well, from here, I guess, which is a different test. Actually, just from here. Thank you, Low TV. Yeah, and hello, Mohammed and Bear. Combined image samplers calls this. But this is also from the same function, I think. No, it's create textures. Oh, this is the test, yeah. Delayed call. So you can ignore that indeed. So it's just this one. It happens when that is being called. Does the update? That's so cool. Declaration, debug declaration, comment, and declaration. So that's the only call then. Update the descriptor set. And that happens from update missing descriptor sets. I wish I could put this somewhere halfway, but I can't. Why not? Let me see. Maybe I can like this. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this font is probably a bit smallish. Can we change the font easily? Okay, so on my Discord, I'm making a, well, summary overview of what I'm doing. This is my memory now. The last thing was that the call to update descriptor set happens from combined image sampler update need action, and we get there when this have new datum is being called. Now I've got that again. It's probably this one here. That's just there. Which is called from pipeline, etc. Update missing descriptor sets. Okay, so let me go back to this one. So a binding can happen as soon as the Vulkan pipeline is constructed. Pointing case. As soon as the pipeline handle is no longer undefined, then we bind the pipeline. Sorry, we call bind descriptor sets on the command buffer, which binds the descriptor sets. And this object here is a member of the user class window. So it has the type Vulkan window, sorry, Vulkan pipeline. Where the graphics pipeline is being passed as a reference to create pipeline factory, also from the user code, which calls stateful task create and then that pipeline factory task, passing that the reference here, so that the pipeline factory pipeline out is a reference to the default constructed window M graphics pipeline, which we are testing here in the render loop. So then the question is, when is the handle set of this object? Well, a new Vulkan pipeline object is created at the end of pipeline factory update missing descriptor sets, namely immediately after creating the pipeline itself, which is passed to the synchronous window base class of window using task-to-task DQ, and finally overrides graphics pipeline M handle by the call to set pipeline at the end of synchronous window have new pipeline. So we have the origin is the pipeline factory, and well, this state. When this state is being run of the pipeline factory, a handle is created, which is then passed to synchronous window have new pipeline. But well, through a task-to-task DQ. So actually it's being passed to the synchronous window task, which then overrides the handle, what is being tested in the render loop, by a call to synchronous window have new pipeline. But this would be the originating state of the pipeline factory. And that's the same state as this one. So we do this at the end of that, and this one at the beginning, the top of that. So we would normally assume that then this happens before that, right? And that normally happens. So normally we would update the descriptor set and then set the handle of the graphics pipeline. So therefore, and even after we do that, it takes a while-ish until we actually bind the descriptor set to command buffer. So the order is we update the descriptor set and then we bind it. And that's how it should be. But sometimes that is not happening. And that is possible because the update is delayed. And the update is described in these two messages here. Only when this delay is larger than whatever delay could occur between creating the pipeline and finally overriding it, this would go wrong. So reading this backwards, we are now at the top of the pipeline factory update, missing descriptor sets. Where we call update missing descriptor sets, the function, which at the bottom calls allocate update add handles and unlogging, which calls update descriptor set, all with the same thread, so there's no delay yet. We didn't even leave the top of this state yet. And then we call have datum. And then there's possible a delay because now a different task has to pick this up. And that is being picked up by combined image sampler update on need action. So I can simulate this delay by adding a delay as soon as we detect that we have to run this state. So I make a delay between entering this state and calling update descriptor sets. Then I would simulate the problem. So I'm going to do that, and we can see it happen. So here we enter the need action thing. Flush new data gets the data. And calls this lambda here, which then calls update descriptor set somewhere. So we just simply at the top, let's say immediately after I see that we have received this stuff, I add a delay. But wait, there's two types of messages. This one and this one. So I think I only need to delay one of them. Update is a descriptor update info, or it is a texture update request. I'm not sure though. I think it's about this call, right? Update descriptor sets. So definitely the first one is needed. And the second one as well, apparently. So they both update descriptor sets. Well, okay. Now let's sleep a whole second. I guess that's long enough. Okay, so now the result should be that we get a validation error. And that is for FRC. Now, do you see the validation error? I better write that to let's write it to the file. That's clearly 1 second delay here. Thread pool queue full. Oh. Well, let's look at for it anyway. Validation. Nope, no error. Yeah. I don't think this has helped, because by sleeping there, the queue run full, and then I guess stuff is just delayed so much that I don't know what went wrong. I want to have this delay, but only when, actually only just once, for exactly that thing that we need to be delayed, and not also for apparently IMG stuff. It's now delaying 2 seconds every time we change the texture. That's not the idea. No, that's not good. How can I fix that? When does it start running anyway again? I guess after many times 1 second. That's pretty strange. Do I have a super small queue or something? Slowing parent task. Yeah, the pipeline factory is trying to add a task to the thread pool in a queue that is full, so the pipeline factory is slowed down. Because that's the one that is trying to add more tasks than we can digest with the thread pool. It thinks. It's an interesting test, and I'm not sure it did recover, but did it recover in the correct way? I'm not sure. Yeah, well, let's. I think apparently there's only, it's not, this is not even related to IMView. You get an update request for background and benchmark. That's the only two textures. And the first two times that should be a 1 pixel gray texture. And the second time it would be the actual texture. So suppose I would have to delay this one texture and definitely only the second one thereof. You see they are over different type as well. So I should only have the delay in one place. Hmm. So the first is a texture update request. And I guess I'm not interested to delay that one. But I am interested in delaying this one. Also both. Well, then the descriptor update anyway. Starts with owning window. So we put a delay here. And then only for one texture. Let's sleep for, well, when the debug name equals, I don't know, benchmark. Does that compile? Maybe the debug name returns a character const pointer though. It does. Or maybe it doesn't. Well, it depends. The debug name of combined image sampler updater. Usage detector, that's definitely not the one. Logical device, device create info. Share the resource base. Yeah, that's the one, share the resource base. So yes, that is a character cons pointer. See if I did that correctly. So it compares two character cons pointers and then 0 if they are equal. Okay, so if it is 0, then they are equal and then we sleep. So we don't only sleep for the benchmark texture when that is updated. But yeah. That was a lot shorter. Damn it. No validation error. No. But yeah, it did work. So when we received for the benchmark texture, the actual texture, then we sleep 1 second. Well, that's weird. I would think that at the very least, the corresponding update then should be done after the binding. But how do we find that out? It's not easy. Though the sleeping for 1 second message is one of the very first messages. And then in the render loop, it says the pipeline is not available, so the handle is still not set. But this is a different thread. So thread 0 is sleeping and 2 is waiting for something and nobody else is running. Well, that's interesting. Yep, and then 0 starts running again, so the sleep is over. Well, that doesn't look like this bug exists at all. Then what the hell is the pipeline factory doing? We should have been inside of it. Oh, huh? Wait a minute, it is inside the actual function. We are inside pipeline, so I'm blocking the pipeline factory as well. That was not the idea, and I don't know why at some point that didn't happen. Is it not running? Running. Yeah. Compiled though. Although, is it not allocate update at handles and unlogging? Yeah, allocate update at handles and unlogging. Called from update missing descriptor sets, called from the top of pipeline factory update missing descriptor sets, which is not printed. Did we fall through here? I guess I should turn on the stateful task channel then, or is it on? I don't see anything like that. Oops. Yeah, it's a fall through. So I would print how we start running it only if this is on. And the pipeline factory is being debugged, but that should be the case. I think I have stateful task off. Let's see already DRC. Pretty on. Should be on. Falling through to. I was looking for. Oh, this pointer is not printed. I probably should do that. I was looking for running, which is not in it, and for the this pointer, which was also not in it. Oh, that's pretty nasty. I have to change that for everything then. The substitute. Let me just replace this whole string here. Have to remember that. That's a dot. This can be anything. So let's use yeah, now this got changed. I put this behind it, just like here. And well, in 10 lines. Pretty sure I have that in other lines as well. Other files, I mean. Let's do them everywhere. That's another 5 files. 5, I mean lines. And 2 more here. Nothing. What? Rolling through to... Oh, I have state in here. I don't have state in the others. Well, let's remove the state. And we changed that already, and then I have them here. And I guess this one. $377 up. Post bunny, by the way. You are reinstated as kick people that say something positive about ChatGPT. I'm completely to the other side again. It's such a horrible thing. So useless. I tried using it today and it was pathetic. Seriously sad. All the hype about ChatGPT. All these people are, I don't know, fools. I asked it, I did ask it, I thought, ChatGPT probably knows all of the Vulkan specs from its head. Well, it's like, it saw that, so it should just know exactly how the specs are, and I can ask questions about it. No way. No way. It just makes up things. It made up everything. You just ask a question and it comes with 100% pure nonsense. It just makes up non-existing chapters, non-existing titles. It explains things as if they are true, but it is 100% nonsense. It's really, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. It's almost scary to think that apparently a lot of humanity already started to depend on this. This nonsense. Last thing I'm going to do is buy stocks of Microsoft. I already wouldn't anyway, but they invested 10 billion into OpenAI. Well, ha 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 ha. What a waste of money. I think I had all of them, right? Now everything prints the disk pointer. Okay. Now it's It's pathetic. It's a pathetic thing. Yeah, I can't get a good word out of it anymore. So again, Postboney, really. Anyone saying that ChatGPT has anything positive, just immediately kill them, because I could show you my conversation because it's still here. Yeah. I tried this. What is the C++ API call that updates the descriptor with the texture? Combined image sampler. I didn't ask this. I just asked how it was called. In the C++ API. It gives me the C API. But this is already nonsense, you know. Yeah. To update the descriptor set with the texture and combined image sampler in the Vulkan API using C++, you would typically use that. No. And then lots of stuff which I didn't check. So I can imagine that also this is nonsense, but who cares? So it said translate the above into the Vulkan C++ API, please. Now, then we got C++. With a lot of things that I didn't ask. But okay, here it is. Update descriptor set. So now I had my answer, update descriptor sets. And now I'm trying to use ChatGPT as an AI, and I'm with stressing the I. Something that has a little bit of understanding of things, you know? Not just like throwing dice. I mean, this is text. I'm asking for text. I'm not even asking for code. So I say describe the expected validation error that this comment is most likely to refer to, and then explain when that would happen in terms of the order in which certain Vulkan API calls are made. Okay? If it could answer this, I would bow down to ChatGPT and vote for it to become president. But no, it comes back with 100% nonsense. 100% nonsense. Yeah, I mean, it repeats the flag, update after bind. This flag indicates that the descriptor set is going to be updated after it has been bound to a command buffer. Might, not going to, but might be updated, which can be a performance optimization. However, if the descriptor set is not actually updated after it is bound, using this flag can cause validation error. No! That is nonsense. You got it completely backwards. If you do not use this flag and then update it after bind, you get a validation error. But if you do use the flag, you can update it before or after bind. It doesn't care. So it says if you use the flag and then do not update it after bind, then that's a validation error. No, it's just nonsense. It just makes it up. The error is most likely to occur if set binding method is called after the descriptor set has been bound to a command buffer. No. What? How? Dude. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You have to call this at construction time, basically. There is nothing to bind at all. Unless you either call it or you don't call it, and then much later you bind something to a command buffer. So it's nonsense. Now, list, create a descriptor set with Okay, create a descriptor pool, who cares? Allocate, dude, I didn't even check this, but when will it come to the point? Update the descriptor set with write descriptor sets and update descriptor sets. Bind the descriptor set to command bar. No, okay. Well, I won't do this again, but I just want to point out where it starts to spew nonsense about, yeah. You're correct, a specific validation error message related to is described in the Vulkan specification, specifically section 13.2.4, descriptor set binding and updates. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. Validation rules? I couldn't find it. This whole message is made up. This thing exists, but has absolutely nothing to do with what we were talking about. It's about samplers. And this, I think I just made it up. Because what it describes, this whole long thing here, it's not even correct. And here this again, it makes an absolute horrible error by saying that you have to remove the flag if it is not needed, because that would get rid of the validation error. That's what? This is so useless. So I type that's near pure nonsense begin to end. One section that does not exist. The da is not an existing title in the specs. You have it completely reversed, blah 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 blah. And that ID exists, but it's about something totally different and unrelated. The message tag that you give does not occur in the specs, and again it has a wrong saying. Then it would be an error to not update after binding. You're allowed to update it before binding still. And then this goes on spewing nonsense. More nonsense. Oh yeah, and then I say chapter 13 is about samplers and only contains 13.1. There is no 13.2.x. That's the second time I say it. And then it says, you are correct, I apologize for the confusion. I misremembered the chapter number and mistakenly referred to chapter 13, which is actually about samplers, as you pointed out. I mean, it just repeats, it just always agrees with what you say. And then it formulates almost always the same sentence. You know, slight variations about you are correct and I apologize and confusion and mistake. And, you know, it's always, this sentence is like now one out of 10 sentences that mean the same thing. And then it says, so it repeats what I said, and then it says the relevant section for descriptor set is chapter 13. Descriptor set. It includes the following sections: 30.1, 30.2, which I just said did not exist, 13.3, 30.4. Oh my god. It just makes up chapters. These do not exist, and the title doesn't exist and don't belong to that chapter. I didn't even correct it anymore. I completely give up on the ChatGPT. Okay, so done. The end. It's a time waster. That's what it is. Okay, now my whole idea was that while I sleep, my pipeline is created. And I thought that I figured out how to reproduce this problem, which I only encountered once while I had breakpoints set in the debugger, so that there were some weird delays here and there. And now we don't get a validation error, right? Because the pipeline is not created. Sleeping 1 second and nothing happens. Everything is blocked until that sleeping thread starts running again. Okay, but all I changed since the last time was there we have it. So we have falling through to pipeline factory update missing descriptor sets. And that is then the pipeline factory to this point. Which then at the top calls update missing descriptor sets. Which at the end calls that function. And now something weird happens. So we are running here the pipeline factory. This is definitely the pipeline factory. And then here the same thread is printing the received. Now really weird it is not. But it's also not, it does not allow me to add this delay. And when it doesn't allow me to add a delay like this, I mean, what happens is that the thread that runs a pipeline factory just switches in the middle to running a different task. And then sleeps. So it does not just sleep the current running task, but also the task that was calling it. So it sleeps both. It sleeps, it delays the task that is going to update, but it also delays the pipeline factory that is going to create the graphics pipeline. So that's why I do not get a validation error. Good night, Cypress Sathaki. How can I fix this? Well, fix, I mean, there's no bug. Just what I don't understand is why I did run into this once. Because I don't think it's possible to go wrong. It's simply the same thread here. Task to task TQ. When on earth would this go wrong? Maybe if the queue is full? Is there a way that this would not start running? No, just we are here. The top calls that, and then that calls that. That calls that. And then if the call to have new datum just immediately starts executing this one, then we are safe. No lab drag, yeah, I'm running a Vulkan engine, as is in the title. I mean, we are calling this, I'm just calling have new datum, which calls signal. And this just should not be set, cannot be self-locked. It could happen, I think, if the task is already running by just another thread. So if I'm trying to deliver this signal to this task while another thread is running it, then this thread returns, and the other thread just gets the task to run it. And in that case, it would be possible that this returning thread creates a graphics pipeline. Well, the other thread that was already running this task is then going to update the combined image sampler a little bit later. But that then depends on for example, we could return false here. If someone else is already running it, then we are not idle. Therefore, the signal does not wake it up. The self-locked is never going to happen, though. So, if we don't return here, then I think we'll definitely call insert multiplex. Which calls multiplex. Yeah, let's see. I think we exit here, then we have executed the multiplex task thing. So maybe we can return earlier. So I do a search upward for return. Oh yeah, that happens when we are killed. If another thread already called begin loop, since we needed a run, then we must not schedule a run because that would lead to running the same state twice. Yeah. So this is also causing us to return if another thread is already running it. We fail to get the log also when another thread already has it. What do you mean no lab? Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to understand. I guess that theoretically I should assume that another thread might run it instead of that we stop here. Well, and I don't know how to simulate that. But if that is the case, then we should not continue until I still think I have to add code to avoid the possible race condition here, which I cannot not even reproduce now, but I think I can follow this object here, or add a hook to it anyway. So creating a descriptor update info object here. And that descriptor update info is being moved to have new datum. And we'd be catching that, I think, here. So that is this object here. Okay, this didn't work, so let's just remove this. And now we're going to update it, and that was a call to update descriptor sets, which happens here. And then immediately after this call, actually this one also calls it, I think, update descriptor set with a loading texture. It's not really the one that I want, but that calls update descriptor set array, which also calls update descriptor sets. So either this one or that one, so we can do the if we arrive here, then we also arrive after the if, and we arrive there. If we arrive on this if, and we arrive there, etc. I don't think this is inside an if, right? No. Well, it is, but in the if that has this thing. So we get that back here, and then at the end of that scope, that is like here, I could inform the whatever that we did finish the updating the descriptor set. So I'm going to use oops. Also pressing not the escape button. So well, you have this thing here. It's const, but it shouldn't be a problem. Here I have the pipeline factory / characteristic range pair that created this descriptor. So we could send a signal to the pipeline factory, I think, through this ID. And that we are done with it. Okay, let me think. Yeah, just sending a signal is the best thing. Something like this. No. Is this enough to get back to factory? Pipeline factory? Somehow I doubt it. This is an index into something that contains a pointer to the pipeline factory. So you hope that we can access that. But let's have a look at where this is being created. Let me see. Oh, I forgot again, of course. Damn, here's my memory. It's just this function, right? Or maybe it should go here. Update descriptor set. Yeah, the question is, where does this pipeline factory index come from and how can I use it to get back my pipeline factory? That's simply the index of M pipeline factories of the synchronous window. So that should be easy to get that back. Yeah, pipeline factory index. So I just need the window and the index, and then we have the pipeline factory. Okay. Yeah. I want to edit this file, but someone else is editing it. Probably should switch to hex here. This makes more sense. Right, so now the pipeline factory gets a signal when the it's still not super safe, but if you only use it for the first one, then okay, it's slightly confusing. I'm going to get this every time, of course, when update is being called. But I'm only interested in the first time. Yeah, but it's okay. I think yeah, it should not be used, I guess. Note, well, inform. Yeah, it's being sent to the factory, so it's just okay, I think. Okay, so then I have to wait for this signal in the pipeline factory. Sorry about that. I think this state was creating it. The missing descriptor sets, and then it said here at the bottom, call to that is done from need action. The corresponding have new datum is called from which that comes from unlocking from the top. Huh? Sorry, that's the wrong one then. Yeah, new Vulkan a new Vulkan pipeline object is created at the end of pipeline factory update missing descriptor set, similarly on the pipeline itself, which is passed to the synchronous window base class window using task to task. It's actually task to task. So before I do this, I have to wait for the signal that I just added. And then here we have that that state. So we go to the bottom. And here's the have new datum. So we have to wait here. Oh fuck. It's plural, isn't it? I might have more than one combined image symbol. Okay, let's make it more complex. Wait for combined image samplers that do not have the bit set. To have an updated before passing the created pipeline to the synchronous window, because otherwise it is theoretically possible, because it's not very likely, I couldn't even reproduce it, theoretically possible that the Nope. It has been clearly established now that ChatGPT is a tool that rearranges words without any clue or understanding what they mean. Plus it hallucinates. It's aka another word for it uses a random generator to create noise in its neural network to make up beautiful images that didn't exist before, and then in text. What was I looking for? The first line, of course. Of course, it's the first line. How could I have missed that? Nope. Right, yeah, so I just made it a lot more complicated. Now I have to wait for multiple signals. Now I'm just gonna wait for one signal. I have to make sure that I only send the signal once we receive the predetermined number of signals that we want to receive, which is pretty difficult. I should have a tool for that already, right? I'm not sure I have it. I don't think action is it. I have an object called action. And I forgot what it is doing. That is horrible for how it works, or even the concept of it. Yay, that is documentation. This is documentation of threadpool. Action is defined below here inside threadpool. Yeah, okay, I'm not going to use something that is defined inside threadpool, I guess. Class action. Nah. Or maybe I had another action that I don't know. I don't think action is it. Hello, old chiz. Don't let this be inside. It is inside a scope. Are you using something that is from that scope? maybe the pipeline. What? How did I type a 3? Pipeline. Well, here it is. Yeah, it's a unique, yeah. Well. Yeah, I'll have to make that a member of the class then. Yeah, but it's really not, it's not the owning window. Do we have another ombi fix here that I can spy on? Not really, it seems. No, yeah, it's temporary anyway. I'll just call this pipeline factory. Then I can end the scope earlier. And well, might not even need a scope anymore, or am I wrong? This is something that's inside the scope, but okay, I could end it here, whatever. Well, all these things are in scope, yeah. So I can end the scope as soon as the pipeline is created. Whoops, not earlier. Not earlier. So you can end the scope here. Well, let's just end the scope here. Good enough. At least this one does not need to be in a scope anymore. And then here I have to implement waiting for something. What was that new signal that we already created? Okay, so what we needed was to be sure that the combined image samplers that have been created and will or might be used in the new pipeline will be all updated before we start rendering that pipeline. And that is, I think, best done here before moving it to the synchronous window, which and then we'll start rendering it, start using it. Among others, binding those combined image samplers to command buffer. And that we can implement that by introducing a new state and then calling wait on the signal that we need to receive in order to know that they all have been updated. And then we will only start running, aka continuing running here once that has been done. For that I created a new signal, which is, just a bit, 256, and a new state. I need to implement a new state. Got quite a few states in this factory, but in the meantime, interesting, isn't it? Yeah. No. Okay, so that was the new state and everything. But now I must send this signal if all all combined image samplers have been updated. So should rename this, I guess. Let me do right quit all. Make C tags. I'm gonna change it to samplers plural. But really, I need to do something quite similar to something I already did before a lot. Yeah. I need a return, right, not a break. So something like this. I have a counter that counts a number of running characteristic tasks. And I could abuse that because I'm not using it anymore, but the name is certainly not what I want. So let's just make a new one. And that counts the number of combined image samplers that do not have that flag set. Let's assume that it already works. I'll put it here, I think. I'll keep the number running in it, but then we need to change the name, I guess. Yeah, running refers to a task. What is a task? Combined image sample update, all right? Combined image sample updaters. So I can move the scope down. And then we can do if and there should be a return apparently. What do I have in my mouse bar? Oh, that. Well, I think the weighting is in place now. So we create now the pipeline in a member variable, and then if we have to wait for image sampler updaters, then we wait for that. If we don't have to wait, then we have to continue running, because we won't get a signal, so we cannot even wait. And well, then you just have the old code, just continues running without waiting. The return, by the way, leaves the function. If I would do a break, in this case, then I just leave the switch, and then we immediately return to the top. This is an infinite loop. So if you do a break, then, well, that doesn't make any sense unless I want to continue running immediately in a different state. In this case, we really want to wait, so all the waits must be followed by a return and not by a break. And normally it must be a break, by the way, because that infinite for loop is like, yeah, kind of a hack actually. So all of the waits are followed by a return. And Alt-Chess asks how many lines of code. It's a bit difficult to count, I have to say, because I have also third-party code in it, which is, well, I don't know, for some reason a lot. I'll count it in a minute. So this local variable, which is an inside this scope, needs to be set, and it can only be set by whoever is setting that m number of combined image sampler updaters, which has to be done by this function. So I'm passing the boolean then to as a reference, because it's already returning something. Okay, think I have to pass it to this function as well. Just pass it on. Yeah, that here immediately. Really? Yeah. What was this again? Yeah, this is done in chunks. I mean, sometimes it can only do part of it, and then it returns false. And then later we re-enter from the top, and it does the rest or another batch. It's complicated, as it were, extremely complicated, I might add. But that means that I cannot just use a simple boolean here. Or maybe I can, but then I should accumulate it. But yeah, if I'm accumulating it, I might as well. Okay, no, I don't. Too difficult. Now you get the problem that maybe I think it is possible that the signal is called while we are not running before we do a wait. And I'm not sure anymore, but I think that then the signal is ignored. So if we call this function multiple times, so here we come here, this is being executed, this state. We call this function. Suppose we get combined image samplers that we need to wait for. That means that it would increment our count, or the atomic count that I added, which is counting the number of combined image sampler updaters that we need to wait for. And it will set this boolean, so that I know that it has been set, because it could be that they already finished by the time I return here, and then the counter is 0. But I still have to wait then, because the... actually, do I have to wait then? I can just... It's not really a problem to receive a signal with something that we never waited for. So I could have a peek at the counter, I guess. It's an atomic anyway. Maybe that's a better solution. So not have a boolean. Because the problem, what I did before was I just set this if the counter is incremented. And then I do a wait. If the counter was incremented, counter is incremented, so if this boolean is set, then I'm 100% sure that we will receive a signal, either immediately or later. But if the signal is received before we do the wait, then they still combine, so then it won't wait. However, the signal must be done while running the state. So we are in here, and then we call this function, then a signal might appear, and then we wait. That's okay. Then the signal and the wait combine. Or we call this function, and then no signal is received yet, but will be received, therefore the boolean is set. And then we do the wait. And then later the signal comes, and they are combined, and we stop waiting. However, the waiting is done at the bottom. Really, this is the real wait. The wait before we move the pipeline. This is a different wait, you know, it's not the same thing that we actually wait for. This is what we wait for. So what can happen is that we call this, it does increment the counter, therefore it does set the boolean, but it returns false because it wants to be called again. And then we wait for another signal and return and wait for that. So we don't run and we don't wait. We don't wait for this signal. We wait for a different signal. But it is possible that in that state, the combined image samplers that are running send that signal and decrement the counter. And then this signal might be received. And then we enter here again. And then we set it again to false, which is wrong. It should be kept set. We could accumulate it, like I said. So I could make this a member of the class and then just keep it set. But it's possible that the second call, the counter is not incremented anymore. And if the signals then were already received and ignored, then we'll start waiting here and never be woken up. So that's a problem. And I think that indeed the solution here is to not use this boolean, but instead just peek at the current value of the counter. Unless I'm mistaken, of course. Is that not going to give a race condition somehow? I think if the counter is if the counter is not 0, then I'm 100% sure that a signal has been sent or will be sent within the current run. Right? Nope, also not correct. So I have to decrement the counter. Wait, it works as follows. I decrement the counter and only atomically, of course, and only when it reaches 0, then I send the signal. So if here I read the counter atomically and I see that it is not yet 0, then I know 100% sure that a signal will be sent during this current run, even at that very moment or after that I call wait. But they combine either way, so that would work. And if I see that it is 0, then a signal might already have been sent or still will be sent, but that's okay. I don't have to wait for it. I can just continue running, which would then ignore that signal, but the idea is the same. Sounds like that would work. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, so we're not going to pass that boolean. And then here I have to read instead the atomic that I added, the new atomic. I'll find that back. This one. So while this is still larger than 0, and we need to load that with standard memory order acquire. Oops. So if at the moment that I load it, it is larger than 0, then it's safe to wait, because it's well, it's not true. Right, this load is yeah, it has to be true. That's to be true for different reasons. I mean, I was going to say it's a read modify write operation on this memory location, which are always totally ordered. But then again, the load is not a read modify write operation, only the decrement that I'm going to do. So if I load this, then with acquire, then the only way that can be guaranteed that a signal is going to happen in between, well, this part or afterwards, but at least not here, let alone before we enter the state, is guaranteed, because the read modify write is also automatically release. I think that's kind of 100. Yeah, it's just watertight, as it were. It's 100% safe to wait here, if that is larger than 0 at this point. Well, if it is 0, then it might have been 0 all along, and in which case I should not wait. Or it might have been larger than 0, but became 0, and then it doesn't really matter anymore if the signal is already sent or will still be sent, because you just decremented it but didn't send the signal yet, or that the signal was already received while we weren't running and waiting on a different signal, in which case that signal was ignored. Because we just continue running and it's just okay, and we'll just any subsequent signals will be ignored. Now where this goes wrong is that all those signals have a specific bit. So now I'm saying that it is possible that we ignore signals, that I'm not waiting here for a signal that might have been sent or will still be sent in that case. which means that a signal is underway that we do not eat, we do not consume it. Yet, we fall through to a different state, and then we fall through to a different state, and then eventually we go back to a state way up, and then we do loads and loads and loads of things, and eventually we come here again. And then eventually, it's like really a lot of work, but okay. Eventually, completely different fill set, a different pipeline. We come here again and we wait for the same signal. And if then the old signals that I wanted to ignore finally arrive, then we would wake up at the wrong moment. And then we would continue running as we did before, and we would come into the situation where possibly a validation error would occur, that one was not harmful, two I could not even reproduce. So this is like, maybe this, it feels like it's going to happen once in the lifetime of the universe, maybe. And it's going to involve a few cosmic particles that fly through your CPU as well. Yeah, I think the chance that just your CPU is crashing because of a neutrino is larger than this situation, but it's not watertight. It's not watertight, and it really bothers me. Normally, I should not reuse the same signal values, but then or consume them. So in this case, I'm not consuming it. Possibly not consuming it. But it's, I don't know, like I said, it's extremely far-fetched by now. Extremely far-fetched. So, I hate doing this, but I think I think it's okay-ish to use this test instead of making it 100% watertight. It's kind of thing I would never put in an autonomous device that they send to Mars. So if you have a robot that has to run around on Mars and do things, and you cannot control it, then I wouldn't do it. But in this case, I think it's okay. But I still want to add a comment for it because it just feels dirty. Comment. Okay, so now I have to summarize what I all just said. How do you write it then? Unlikeness. Apparently I made up a new word. It's likelihood. Likeliness. So why would there not be an unlikeliness? Oh, it is there. Oh. Unluckiness, yeah, unlikeliness, okay. Erroneous, okay. And how do I write that? Negligible. Hey, but at least I saved my reputation by deliberately introducing this bug and then documenting it. Not by deliberately introducing it, but after deliberately introducing it, I'll at least, write down that I am aware of it. In the meantime, it's 10 past 10, and 10 is basically the time that I stop. I don't think that Alcesar is still here, but in case he is, I did promise to... I don't see him in the chat, so... Nevertheless, I'm gonna quit, right? So... Yeah, it's just difficult to count the lines anyway. So all the source code combined for the whole project, including source code that I did not write, it's 900,000 lines. And if you just, let's say, I could filter out external, and I think then pretty much of the code is really written by me. Oh, really? That doesn't feel right. Hey, Anonymous, yeah, good night, man. I think external might not be the right name. Oh, I'm having user yeah, the whole Vulkan API is included. That would be a lot of. So we do s minus external, and then I get this is my code, this is my code, this is my code. This is all my codes, my code, my code, my codes. This is my code, my code, my codes. This is all my codes. It's including tests, but hey, I did type it. I think I did not write that one. So we would have to filter out the B streams. The rest of the files are all my files. And then of course slash user include also not. So that's better. You see, that's a big difference. So I wrote 109,000 lines of code for this project, but that includes all the submodules and the tests. I think I'm not sure of PRS. So we now count just the stuff related to the Vulkan thing. That's yeah, well, 45k lines. So not really that much yet, but on the other hand, I mean, by the time it's finished, you would expect 1,000,000 lines of code. So yeah, that means that it's still going to take me 20 years to finish it. If I would do everything alone. I don't like that. I do not like that idea at all. Yeah, I was doing something, but I forgot what, of course. Div. So I removed his flag, and then I'm going to, I think, commit all these changes. I have to remove that. So I'll have to remove that. And that. Yeah. Right, so yeah, still more work to do. Need to increment this counter, and then instead of calling the signal, decrement counter again and call signal when it reaches 0. That might cause multiple signals. This is also not good. Damn it. Nope, it's not that simple. Well, tomorrow. So I'm going to bed-ish. Thank you for keeping me company, and I'll be back tomorrow.